everyone, my name is Milan. I'm a talent acquisition specialist, and today I will be giving you some of the basic tips on how to answer one of the most commonly asked questions on any job interview, which is tell me about yourself. First of all, I have to say that I don't usually ask this question, at least not in this way, because it can be a little bit confusing, and I'll explain that later on. But that's not to say that no one will ever ask you this question. I'm pretty sure that most of the people that will be interviewing you will ask you. There is one thing to keep in mind when answering a question like this, and that is don't talk about your personal life. That's not what we're asking for here. I don't need you to tell me a story about your personal life. I need you to tell me a story about your experience. When you are telling me about your experience, there's a few things you need to pay attention to. You need to be compelling, meaning that you need to sound confident, that at the end of the conversation, you are sure that I believed what you told me. Talk clearly. Make sure that we understand you. Adjust the difficulty of your words based on whom you're speaking with. We, as talent acquisition specialists and recruiters, know a lot of things about many different positions, but if you get too technical with us, we can get lost in what you're trying to tell us. Keep it clear and simple. Now that you understood that, let me give you some tips on how to answer a question like this. Tip number one is experience. As I mentioned before, talk to me about your experience. Give me an overview of each of your positions since the start of your professional career or since the most recent relevant job that you had. Make sure that you tell me about your position title, your main responsibility, which is probably the most important one, the amount of years you spent in that position, and your major accomplishments during that time. Tip number two is your skills. You told me a story. Now tell me what is the most useful skill that you have that will make you successful in this position. By doing this, you're giving me the idea that you know what this position is, what skills you need to have, and how to be successful in this position. Tip number three is shortcomings. I spoke about this in one of my previous videos, but don't be afraid to tell me that you never done a particular part of the job or you simply don't know how to do it. Telling me this, it's not a bad thing. It's actually showing me that you can stand up and take accountability. It will also show me that you're not afraid to admit that you don't know everything. Use this together with tip number two. That's when you will get the most out of it. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I don't usually ask this question, and that's both true and not true at the same time. I don't ask specifically, tell me about yourself. I phrase it a little bit differently, like, tell me about your experience or give me an overview of your career. It's much less confusing when you ask it directly like that. This is what we actually mean when we ask you to tell us about yourself. It's important to make that distinction. For some recruiters and hiring managers, this is a trick question to see how will you go about answering it. If you're going in a life story direction, it will tell us that you're probably not the right fit for the position. On the other hand, if you go straight into your experience and the tips that I gave you, it will show us that you know exactly what you're talking about and why you're the best fit for this position. That's it for today. If this was helpful for you on some of the interviews that you had, leave a like on this video and write some comments on what exactly was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.